Samantha Sam Carter had always been a woman of few words, but her reputation spoke volumes. A decorated military K-9 handler, she had spent years training and working alongside some of the most elite dogs in the armed forces. Her companions, Titan, a Belgian Malinois with piercing eyes, and Luna, a sleek German shepherd known for her razor-sharp instincts, were more than just working animals. They were her partners, extensions of herself. Together, they had faced dangerous missions overseas, earning accolades and respect from their peers. But now, Sam found herself far from the battlefield, assigned to assist local law enforcement in a small, quiet town that was anything but peaceful. The town had become a hotspot for trouble, thanks to a growing biker gang called the Iron Fangs. These bikers weren't your typical weekend riders. They were loud, intimidating, and had a knack for causing chaos wherever they went. From vandalism to harassment, their antics had left the townspeople living in fear. The local police force was stretched thin, struggling to keep up with the escalating issues. That's where Sam came in. She had been handpicked for this assignment because of her expertise in handling high-pressure situations and her unparalleled bond with her dogs. But stepping into this new role wasn't going to be easy. As soon as Sam arrived at the police station, she could feel the weight of skeptical stares. Some officers whispered behind her back, questioning whether someone like her, a petite woman who looked more suited for an office job than roughing it on the streets, could handle hardened criminals. Others openly doubted the effectiveness of her methods, wondering if relying on dogs was practical in such a volatile environment. Sam didn't let any of it get to her. She had faced worse doubters before and proven them wrong every time. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that this assignment would test her in ways she hadn't anticipated. Her first meeting with the chief of police didn't help ease her nerves. He was polite enough but made it clear he wasn't thrilled about having outside help. He handed her a stack of files detailing recent incidents involving the Iron Fangs and told her to see what she could do. It wasn't exactly a vote of confidence, but Sam didn't need one. She had Titan and Luna by her side, and together, they were a force to be reckoned with. As Sam stepped out of the station, her boots clicking against the pavement, she took a deep breath. The air smelled different here, less metallic, more earthy, compared to the war zones she was used to. But danger had a way of finding its way everywhere, no matter how idyllic a place seemed on the surface. She glanced down at Titan and Luna, who sat patiently beside her, their ears perked and alert. They were ready, as always. And so was she. Little did she know, her first encounter with the Iron Fangs was just around the corner, and it would set the tone for everything that was about to unfold. It didn't take long for Sam to cross paths with the Iron Fangs. On her second day in town, she decided to patrol the outskirts, an area known for being a hotspot of illegal activity. The roads were quiet, lined with dusty fields and abandoned warehouses, a perfect hiding spot for troublemakers. As she drove her patrol vehicle slowly down a narrow road, she spotted them almost immediately, a group of bikers loitering near a gas station. Their motorcycles were parked haphazardly, blocking part of the entrance, while loud music blared from a portable speaker. At the center of it all stood their leader, Razor, a tall, muscular man with a leather vest covered in patches and a sneer that seemed permanently etched onto his face. Sam pulled over, her heart steady, but her senses sharp. She stepped out of the car, her boots crunching against the gravel as Titan and Luna followed close behind, their leashes held firmly in her hands. The moment the bikers noticed her, they turned their heads, sizing her up like predators eyeing prey. One of them let out a low whistle, followed by laughter. Razor raised an eyebrow, clearly amused by her presence. "Well, well," he said, his voice dripping with mockery. "What do we have here?" "The little lady playing cop." His words hung heavy in the air, but Sam didn't flinch. She had heard worse insults during her time in the military. Ignoring the jeers, she approached them calmly, maintaining a professional demeanor. "Gentlemen," she began, her tone polite yet firm, "I need you to move your bikes. You're obstructing traffic." Razor chuckled, stepping forward until he towered over her. His shadow loomed large, but Sam stood her ground, meeting his gaze without hesitation. "And what if we don't?" he asked, folding his arms across his chest. His cronies snickered behind him, egging him on. "What are you gonna do about it, sweetheart? Call your boyfriend. Or maybe those mutts can bite us instead." The taunts grew louder, more aggressive, but Sam remained unfazed. Instead, she tightened her grip on the leashes, signaling to Titan and Luna to stay alert. Though her dogs were trained not to react unless commanded, their posture shifted slightly. They became more rigid, their eyes locked onto the bikers. To anyone else, they might have looked calm, but Sam knew better. They were ready, waiting for her signal. "I'll give you one more chance," Sam said, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. "Move your bikes, or I'll issue citations. Obstruction is a violation, and I won't hesitate to enforce the law." Her words carried authority, but Razor wasn't impressed. He leaned in closer, invading her personal space. "You think these two fleabags scare me?" He spat, pointing at Titan and Luna. "They're just dogs. What's a tiny thing like you gonna do, huh?" For a split second, Sam considered letting her dogs demonstrate exactly why they weren't just dogs. But she resisted the urge, knowing this wasn't the right time or place. Instead, she reached into her pocket and pulled out her citation book, flipping it open deliberately. "Fine," she said coolly. "Have it your way." She started writing, ignoring the escalating jeers around her. Razor watched her for a moment, then burst into laughter. "You're wasting your time, girlie," he sneered. "This ain't no army base. We run things here, not you." With that, he turned back to his gang, dismissing her entirely. The bikers revved their engines loudly and sped off, leaving behind a cloud of dust and a lingering scent of gasoline. As the sound of their motorcycles faded into the distance, Sam exhaled slowly. She glanced down at Titan and Luna, who were still standing obediently beside her. "Don't worry," she murmured softly, scratching behind Luna's ears. "We'll show them soon enough." It was clear that Razor and his gang underestimated her, and that would be their biggest mistake. Over the next few days, the Iron Fangs seemed determined to make Sam regret ever setting foot in their territory. Reports of vandalism and harassment flooded the police station, each one tying back to the gang's growing audacity. Windows were shattered, graffiti marred the walls of local businesses, and residents lived in constant fear of crossing paths with the bikers. Anonymous tips poured in, pointing fingers at the Iron Fangs, but without solid evidence, there was little law enforcement could do beyond issuing warnings. The town felt like it was under siege, and Sam knew she had to act before things spiraled further out of control. One evening, while patrolling the main street, Sam noticed a commotion outside a small convenience store. A group of bikers, easily identifiable by their leather vests adorned with patches, was gathered near the entrance. Razor stood at the forefront, his arms crossed as he glared down the shopkeeper, an elderly man named Mr. Patel. The tension was palpable. Mr. Patel looked visibly shaken, clutching a broomstick tightly in his hands, as if it might protect him from the looming threat. "You know the deal," Razor growled, his voice low but menacing. "Pay up, or we'll make sure your business doesn't see another day." Sam pulled her vehicle to a stop nearby and stepped out, Titan and Luna flanking her sides. The moment the bikers noticed her arrival, they turned, their smirks returning instantly. "Look who's back," Razor said, spreading his arms dramatically. "The dog whisperer herself. What's wrong, sweetheart?" "Can't stay away." Ignoring his taunts, Sam approached calmly, her focus unwavering. She locked eyes with Razor, her expression stern. "Step away from the shopkeeper," she ordered, her tone leaving no room for argument. "Harassment is illegal, and I won't tolerate it." Her words hung in the air, met with mocking laughter from the gang. One of them even mimicked her voice, earning cheers from the others. Razor took a step closer, his towering frame attempting to intimidate her. "You really don't get it, do you? He sneered. "This ain't your playground. You're outnumbered, outmatched, and way out of your league. Those fancy tricks of yours won't save you here." Despite the rising tension, Sam remained composed. She tightened her grip on the leashes, signaling to Titan and Luna to remain alert. Though the dogs stayed perfectly still, their muscles tensed slightly, ready to spring into action at her command. To anyone else, they appeared calm, but Sam could feel the energy radiating off them. They were prepared, just as she was. "You've got two options," Sam replied evenly, her voice cutting through the jeers. "Leave peacefully or face consequences. Your choice." Razor stared at her for a moment, then burst into laughter, clearly amused by her audacity. "Consequences," he echoed mockingly. "From you, please. You're all bark and no bite." Though tempted to prove him wrong, Sam held back. This wasn't the time or place for a confrontation, not when innocent lives were involved. Instead, she reached for her radio and called for backup, ensuring that reinforcements would arrive soon. Sensing they'd pushed her far enough for now, Razor waved his gang off, though not before delivering one final jab. "You think you're tough, huh?" he said, leaning in close. "We'll see how long you last around here." As the bikers mounted their motorcycles and roared away, Sam turned her attention to Mr. Paddle. His hands trembled as he set the broomstick aside, relief washing over his face. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "They'd been threatening me for weeks. I didn't know what to do." Sam offered him a reassuring smile, though her mind was already racing. Razor's threats weren't empty. They were promises, and she knew the iron fangs wouldn't stop until they proved a point. But Sam wasn't about to back down either. With Titan and Luna by her side, she had faced greater challenges before. This was just the beginning, and she was ready to fight back. As she drove away from the scene, Sam couldn't shake the feeling that Razor was planning something bigger. He had underestimated her once, and she intended to use that to her advantage. Whatever came next, she vowed to be prepared. Word of Sam's standoff with the Iron Fangs spread quickly through the small town, sparking a mix of admiration and skepticism among the locals. While some residents praised her bravery, others whispered doubts about whether she could truly handle the growing threat posed by Razor and his gang. The tension between Sam and the bikers had reached a boiling point, and it was clear that something needed to be done to settle the score once and for all. It was during one of these discussions at the police station that Razor made his move, or rather, his challenge. Hoping to humiliate Sam publicly and prove that her dogs were nothing more than props, he issued an open invitation for her to demonstrate their so-called abilities at an upcoming community event hosted by the local police department. If she's so confident in those mutts of hers, Razor declared loudly outside the station, where reporters had gathered, then let's see what they can really do. His gang cheered him on, clearly enjoying the spectacle. The challenge caught everyone off guard, including Sam. When the chief of police approached her about accepting Razor's dare, she hesitated. Public demonstrations weren't part of her usual routine, and she knew this wasn't just about showcasing skills. It was a setup designed to embarrass her. But after a moment's thought, she agreed. If there was any chance to show the town, and Razor, what Titan and Luna were capable of, she couldn't pass it up. In the days leading up to the event, Sam threw herself into preparation. She worked tirelessly with Titan and Luna, rehearsing every command and scenario she could think of. From agility courses to simulated takedowns, the dogs performed flawlessly, their bond with Sam stronger than ever. Yet even as she trained, rumors swirled around town. Razor went out of his way to cast doubt on her abilities, telling anyone who would listen that her dogs were all show and wouldn't hold up under pressure. He even mocked her privately to his gang, betting they'd freeze when it mattered most. On the morning of the demonstration, the atmosphere was electric. Hundreds of people gathered at the park where the event was being held, eager to see what would happen. Families sat on picnic blankets, children ran around laughing, and vendors sold snacks from carts nearby. At the front of the crowd, however, stood Razor and his gang, arms crossed and smirks plastered across their faces. They radiated arrogance, convinced they were about to witness Sam's downfall. As Sam walked onto the field with Titan and Luna by her side, the murmurs grew louder. Some cheered her name, while others remained silent, unsure of what to expect. Sam ignored the noise, focusing instead on the task ahead. She knelt briefly to check the dogs' gear, whispering encouragement to them before standing tall. Her calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the chaos around her, drawing curious glances from the audience. When the announcer introduced her, Sam stepped forward, addressing the crowd with quiet confidence. "Today," she began, her voice steady and clear, "you'll see firsthand what makes Titan and Luna such extraordinary partners. These dogs aren't just pets. They're highly trained professionals who have saved lives and protected communities. And I hope that by the end of this demonstration, you'll understand why they deserve your respect." Razor rolled his eyes theatrically, leaning over to mutter something to his gang. They snickered, but Sam didn't react. Instead, she signaled for Titan and Luna to begin their routine. And within seconds, the entire crowd fell silent. What followed was nothing short of breathtaking. As Titan and Luna sprang into action, the crowd's skepticism quickly turned to awe. The first part of the demonstration was an agility course, a series of ramps, tunnels, and hurdles designed to test speed, coordination, and precision. With Sam's crisp commands guiding them, the dogs moved like lightning. Titan leaped over barriers with effortless grace, his powerful legs propelling him higher than anyone expected. Luna weaved through poles with such fluidity that it seemed as though she were dancing. Every movement was synchronized, every action deliberate. The audience erupted into applause, but Razor and his gang remained unimpressed, or at least they pretended to be. Razor leaned back against his seat, arms crossed tightly across his chest, while his cronies exchanged smirks. "Big deal," he muttered loud enough for those around him to hear. "Any well-trained dog can jump through hoops." His words didn't dampen the mood, though. The townspeople were too captivated by the spectacle unfolding before them. Next came obedience drills, where Sam showcased how responsive Titan and Luna were to her commands. She stood in the center of the field, calling out instructions one after another. Sit, stay, heel down, all delivered calmly and clearly. Without hesitation, the dogs obeyed, their focus unwavering even as distractions popped up around them. Children tossed balls nearby, music played softly in the background, and yet Titan and Luna never broke concentration. It was as if Sam's voice was the only thing they heard. Razor rolled his eyes again, trying to maintain his facade of indifference, but there was a flicker of unease in his expression now. He had underestimated these dogs, and Sam, before, but something about the way they performed made him shift uncomfortably in his seat. Then came the most impressive segment, tactical scenarios. Using volunteer officers dressed in padded suits, Sam demonstrated how Titan and Luna could neutralize threats without causing harm. In one scenario, a suspect charged toward Sam aggressively, shouting and waving their arms. Before anyone could blink, Luna intercepted, pinning the officer to the ground with controlled force. Not a single unnecessary bite or scratch marred the display. It was all calculated precision. Titan followed suit, showcasing his ability to track scents and locate hidden targets. Hiding spots were set up throughout the field, and within seconds, Titan identified each one with pinpoint accuracy. When he found the last volunteer crouched behind a stack of crates, he barked sharply, signaling success. The crowd cheered wildly, clapping until their hands stung. But Razor wasn't ready to admit defeat, not yet. As the final round began, he decided to take matters into his own hands. Rising from his seat, he swaggered onto the field, ignoring the announcer's protests. "Let's see how tough they really are," he sneered, stepping directly into Titan's path. The dog froze, staring at Razor intently, waiting for Sam's command. Sam tensed, her hand hovering near Titan's leash. "Get out of the way," she warned, her voice firm but calm. Razor ignored her, instead reaching out mockingly toward Titan's head. In an instant, Titan reacted, not violently, but decisively. With a low growl, he lunged forward just enough to press Razor backward, forcing him to stumble and fall onto the grass. The entire crowd gasped, and Razor's face flushed red with embarrassment. For a moment, no one spoke. Then, slowly, hesitant applause broke out, growing louder as people realized what they'd witnessed. Razor scrambled to his feet, brushing dirt off his leather vest, his bravado shattered. He glared at Sam, but the look in her eyes told him everything he needed to know. She and her dogs weren't to be messed with. As the demonstration ended, the townspeople surrounded Sam, congratulating her and showering her with praise. Even some of the officers who had doubted her earlier shook her hand, admitting they'd been wrong. But Sam didn't linger long. She simply smiled, thanked everyone, and walked off the field with Titan and Luna striding proudly beside her. Razor watched her go, seething silently, knowing full well that this wasn't over. Razor's humiliation at the demonstration burned like a hot coal in his chest. He had walked into the event confident, even cocky, expecting to expose Sam and her dogs as frauds. Instead, he left with egg on his face, his pride shattered in front of the entire town. For someone like Razor, who thrived on dominance and control, this was more than just a loss. It was a personal affront, and he wasn't about to let it slide. That night, under the cover of darkness, Razor gathered his gang for a secret meeting. They huddled around a flickering lantern in an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town, their faces illuminated by shadows. Razor paced back and forth, his boots scuffing against the cracked concrete floor. "We can't let that woman make fools of us," he growled, slamming his fist into his palm for emphasis. "She thinks she's so tough because of those dogs. Fine. We'll show her what real toughness looks like." The plan was simple but brutal. Ambush Sam during one of her patrols, teach her a lesson she wouldn't forget. Razor knew she often worked alone, relying only on her dogs for backup. Without weapons or reinforcements, she'd be vulnerable. The thought made him smirk. This time, there would be no crowd to cheer her on, no stage for her to shine. Just her dogs, and them. Meanwhile, Sam was wrapping up a long day of work. She had spent hours reviewing reports, mapping out patrol routes, and ensuring Titan and Luna were well rested for whatever lay ahead. As she climbed into her vehicle, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Razor's smoldering glare from earlier that day lingered in her mind, a silent promise of retaliation. Still, she refused to let fear dictate her actions. If Razor wanted a fight, she was ready. As Sam drove down a quiet, dimly lit road on the edge of town, she noticed movement in her rearview mirror. A group of motorcycles appeared, their headlights cutting through the darkness. At first, they kept their distance, but soon they began closing in, surrounding her car like predators circling prey. Her heart rate quickened, but she remained calm, gripping the steering wheel tightly. She slowed the vehicle to a stop, knowing running would only escalate things further. Before she could react, bikers swarmed her car, yanking open the doors and pulling her out. Razor stepped forward, his grin wicked in the moonlight. "Remember me?" he taunted, grabbing her arm roughly. "Thought you were so smart back there, huh? Thought your little show made you untouchable." His grip tightened, but Sam didn't flinch. She locked eyes with him, her expression steady. "Let go," she said firmly, though her voice carried no trace of panic. Razor laughed, clearly enjoying himself. "Or what? Your dog's gonna save you." He glanced toward Titan and Luna, who stood nearby, watching intently. To the untrained eye, they looked calm. But Sam saw the tension in their bodies, the slight forward lean that signaled readiness. She gave them a subtle nod, and in an instant, chaos erupted. Titan sprang forward first, targeting the largest biker holding Sam. With precision born of years of training, he knocked the man off balance, forcing him to release her. Luna followed suit, darting between the attackers with incredible speed. She focused on disarming them, biting at wrists and ankles without causing serious injury. The bikers scrambled, shouting in confusion as the dogs moved like a blur, anticipating every move before it happened. Razor watched in disbelief as his gang fell apart, unable to counter the relentless assault. He tried to step in, swinging wildly at Titan, but the dog sidestepped effortlessly, countering with a low growl that sent chills down his spine. Within minutes, the once confident gang was reduced to a disorganized mess, their bravado crumbling under the weight of Sam's four-legged partners. Breathing heavily, Razor raised his hands in surrender, his face pale with shock. Okay, he shouted, backing away. You win. Call them off. Sam whistled sharply, and Titan and Luna immediately retreated to her side, their postures relaxed but alert. She fixed Razor with a steely gaze. This is your last warning, she said, her tone leaving no room for argument. Mess with me again, and next time, I won't hold them back. Defeated and humiliated, Razor and his gang fled into the night, leaving behind nothing but skid marks and shattered egos. As Sam stood there, flanked by her loyal companions, she allowed herself a small smile. Razor had underestimated her and paid the price. The morning after the ambush, news of what had happened spread like wildfire through the small town. Residents who had once doubted Sam's abilities were now speaking her name with admiration and gratitude. The story of how she and her dogs single-handedly took down Razor and his gang became the talk of every cafe, shop, and street corner. Even those who hadn't witnessed the event firsthand felt a renewed sense of hope that the Iron Fang's reign of terror might finally be coming to an end. Local authorities wasted no time in acting on the incident. Officers combed through the abandoned warehouse where Razor's gang had gathered, finding incriminating evidence scattered everywhere: weapons, stolen goods, and even handwritten notes detailing plans for future vandalism and extortion. It was more than enough to build a solid case against the bikers. Within hours, arrest warrants were issued, and Razor and his crew were rounded up one by one. This time, there would be no escape. During the arrests, Razor remained defiant, though his usual bravado was noticeably absent. When officers cuffed him, he muttered under his breath about those damn dogs, but his words lacked conviction. Defeat weighed heavily on him, evident in the slump of his shoulders and the absence of his trademark sneer. For the first time in years, Razor wasn't calling the shots, and it showed. As the dust settled, the townspeople turned their attention to Sam. She became an unexpected hero, not just because of her skills or her bravery, but because she had proven that strength didn't always come from size or aggression. During a press conference held at the police station, reporters peppered her with questions about her dogs, her training, and how she managed to stay calm under pressure. Sam answered each question humbly, deflecting praise onto Titan and Luna. "They're the real heroes here," she said with a smile, scratching behind Luna's ears as the dog sat obediently by her side. Without them, none of this would have been possible. Even some of the skeptical officers who had initially questioned her methods came forward to apologize. One of them, a grizzled veteran named Officer Harris, approached her after the press conference. "I'll admit, I didn't think you'd last a week out here," he confessed, rubbing the back of his neck awkwardly. "But seeing what you did with those dogs, well, let's just say you've earned my respect." Sam nodded, accepting the gesture graciously. She knew earning trust took time, and moments like these reminded her why she loved her job. It wasn't just about catching bad guys. It was about building connections and making a difference. For the residents of the town, the change was palpable. Shopkeepers reopened their stores without fear of harassment. Parents let their children play outside again, and the streets buzzed with life instead of tension. Mr. Patel, the elderly shopkeeper who had been threatened by Razor, stopped Sam one afternoon to thank her personally. "You saved us all," he said, tears glistening in his eyes. "Not just me, but everyone. Thank you." Despite the newfound admiration, Sam remained grounded. She knew her work wasn't done yet. While the Iron Gangs were behind bars, their influence still lingered, and rebuilding trust within the community would take time. To help bridge the gap, she organized a series of training sessions for local law enforcement, teaching them how to better integrate K-9 units into their operations. Her lessons went beyond tactics. They emphasized patience, teamwork, and the importance of mutual respect between handlers and their dogs. As the days passed, preparations began for Sam's departure. Her assignment in the town was drawing to a close, and soon she'd return to active duty elsewhere. Though she was ready to move on, leaving this place behind wouldn't be easy. The people here had welcomed her, trusted her, and ultimately embraced her as one of their own. And while she looked forward to new challenges, part of her heart would always belong to this little town, and to the dogs who had stood by her side through everything. On her final night in town, Sam took Titan and Luna for a long walk along the quiet outskirts where it all began. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of pine trees and fresh earth. As they walked, she reflected on the journey, the doubts she faced, the battles she fought, and the victories she achieved. None of it had been easy, but every step had been worth it. Together, they had proven that courage, loyalty, and teamwork could overcome even the toughest odds. The morning of Sam's departure arrived sooner than anyone expected. The sun rose over the small town, casting golden light across the quiet streets and dew-kissed fields. For Sam, it was a bittersweet moment. She had come to this place as an outsider, underestimated and untrusted, but she was leaving as a hero, someone who had not only faced danger head-on, but had also inspired hope in a community that had nearly given up. Before packing her gear and loading Titan and Luna into the vehicle, Sam made one final stop at the police station. Officers gathered around her, some shaking her hand, others offering heartfelt thanks. Even Chief Monroe, who had initially been skeptical about her assignment, admitted he couldn't have asked for a better outcome. "You've done more than we ever could have hoped for," he said, his tone sincere. "This town owes you a debt it can never fully repay." Sam smiled modestly, brushing off the praise. "It wasn't just me," she replied. "It was Titan, Luna, and everyone here who stepped up when it mattered most." Her words carried weight, reminding everyone that teamwork, not individual effort, had brought peace back to their lives. As she prepared to leave, a crowd began forming outside the station. Word had spread quickly that this was Sam's last day, and townspeople came from all corners to say goodbye. Children ran up to pet Titan and Luna, their laughter filling the air, while adults expressed their gratitude with hugs and kind words. Mr. Patel handed her a small box wrapped in colorful paper. It contained homemade sweets, a token of appreciation from his family. "For your journey," he said warmly. "May it be sweet." Razor's trial loomed on the horizon, and though he refused to speak publicly about what had happened, his actions during court proceedings spoke volumes. When questioned by prosecutors, he admitted, albeit reluctantly, that Sam and her dogs had taught him a lesson he wouldn't soon forget. Never underestimate someone because of appearances. His confession served as both closure and vindication for Sam, proof that her efforts had left a lasting impact even on those who oppose her. With everything packed and ready, Sam climbed into her vehicle, Titan and Luna settling comfortably beside her. As she rolled down the window to wave one last time, the crowd erupted into applause. Some even cheered, holding signs that read, "Thank you, Sam," and "We'll miss you." Tears welled in her eyes as she took it all in, the faces of people whose lives she had touched, the bonds she had formed, and the legacy she was leaving behind. Driving away, Sam felt a deep sense of fulfillment. This assignment had tested her in ways she hadn't anticipated, but it had also reminded her why she chose this path in the first place. Every challenge, every doubt, every victory had strengthened her resolve and deepened her connection with Titan and Luna. They weren't just partners, they were family. As the town faded into the distance, replaced by open roads and endless skies, Sam allowed herself a moment of reflection. She thought about the lessons she'd learned, not just about handling threats or earning respect, but about resilience, trust, and the power of second chances. Razor and his gang may have seen her as an easy target at first, but they quickly realized she was anything but. And now, thanks to her determination and the unwavering loyalty of her dogs, the town was safer than it had been in years. Titan rested his head on her lap, his warm brown eyes gazing up at her, while Luna curled up in the passenger seat, her tail thumping softly against the door. Sam reached out to scratch behind their ears, her heart swelling with gratitude. No matter where life took them next, she knew they would face it together, as a team. The road ahead stretched long and uncertain, but Sam welcomed it with open arms. Whatever challenges awaited, she was ready. After all, she had Titan and Luna by her side. And with them, there was nothing she couldn't overcome.